So I have another amazing guest with me here at the NOAH conference in Zurich. Could you say who you are and who you are representing?
Thank you for having me. My name is Risto Väyrynen. I'm the founder of the Impact Office. We are a group of single-family offices trying to unlock the private capital flows to SDGs.
Okay.
I'm also an ambassador for the world's largest nonprofit organization for family businesses, the Family Business Network. We are 16,000 members in 65 countries, and we all signed the Pledge for Sustainable Future.
Okay. How very interesting. So these are family businesses around the world that have come together to try and build a better world with their experience and, I suppose, in a sense, their longevity, because there's a lot of short-termism in the world. So they bring a longer-term perspective. Is this correct?
This is correct. So family businesses typically think in generations, or the saying is that our quarter is 25 years instead of 3 months. So the inbuilt long-termism is there. And I think it's one of the key solutions that we have for fighting the climate change, for example.
Do they, these families, do they exchange best practices with each other on environmental, social, and governance issues? Do they also exchange ideas on, for example, ways of investing in a more climate-friendly way? What kind of things are they doing? Is it within their businesses, or is it beyond their family businesses that they're having an impact?
So it's both. So traditionally, family businesses have been under the radar. The less noise you made, the better. But we don't have any more that luxury of staying in the closet and doing our thing. So family businesses are taking an active role in society and showing that there's a model that can be inclusive, it can be purposeful, and it can be used in deploying capital in things such as fighting the climate change and making sure that we stay under 1.5 degrees before 2030.
You mentioned to me the World Economic Forum because you were also working there on this topic. So it's something that's been recognized as high as the WEF, in a sense, that this is an important part of the economy. Explain a little bit there. How did the World Economic Forum see the Family Business Network?
So World Economic Forum has a family business community that is comprised of some of the largest family businesses, listed family businesses in the world. And it's definitely one of the primary topics on their agenda. Sustainability, ESG driven by big, large companies, and then building on ESG, trying to tackle also the SDGs in a way forward that is progressive. And definitely family businesses are the natural home of the famous stakeholder capitalism. We don't need to reinvent the capitalism because we just have to follow a certain long-term thinking of families that have been around for many generations. And families like to say that their quarter is 25 years instead of 3 months. And this is really the essence of why family businesses are interesting counterparty in tackling the climate crisis.
Well, as you said to me earlier, the fact is that you know, you can fire the CEO of a company if they whatever, but you can't fire the CEO of a family company because they're part of the family. So they can actually take some risks and they can look into a longer term future. And maybe in some cases their rate of return can be a little bit lower because they think what they're doing is the right thing than maybe in a more conventional company. Would that be correct broadly?
That's absolutely correct, but the rate of return is actually higher. So family businesses are performing better in most of the financial metrics. And as an investor, when you have a luxury of thinking of mid to long term, that's when you can actually make profits. And listed businesses run by CEOs whose duration is 3 to 5 years, they can only look at the next quarter, and their performance is only linked to that. And the example I gave was what happened in Danone, for example, with a very progressive CEO who went all out in sustainability, but the owners didn't like it. So the pension funds owned by people like me and you, who have the return target of, let's say, 4 or 5% annually, they have to deliver that quarter by quarter, year by year.
Right.
So family ownership can look beyond that and give the operational leadership the room to maneuver, to make those mid to long-term strategic decisions that can be profitable and beneficial for the planet.
Have these this alliance, in a sense, of family businesses around the world, have they ever come together as a as a group, even at major conferences, climate change conferences, or have they at least, because it's such an interesting concept, and one thinks it could have some value at influencing the way people think at these major climate summits.
So it's happening. Family businesses have been under the radar for a long time, but we don't have the luxury of being so anymore. And a good example is that Family Business Network just launched the Family Business Sustainability Indicators together with the UN UNCTAD, and that is public. It's now in 140 countries. It's going to be a metric used for family businesses to measure themselves. Another example is that we just got back from TED Global Countdown Conference in Edinburgh, and we are there representing this kind of thinking of patient capital that is not looking for hit and run 10x investments that need to happen in very short period of time. There's a different way of investing, and families often have this long-term thinking, and you could even say that favorite holding period for families is forever, because you want to give it to the next generation. And I'm sure in conferences like this, also the companies and the startups would love to have a patient capital in their cap table, because they're not pressurized to deliver, and things go wrong. So families have the patience to look beyond a little bit further than just a couple of years down the line.
Right. That's a very good point. Excellent. So we're just going to wrap up here, but we have our own little pet passion at the moment. If I could put it that way, it's more than a pet passion. It seems everybody's now talking about it, which is this crazy amount of money that the governments are spending on subsidizing fossil fuels, which, I mean, fossil fuel companies are not startups, right? They've been around for a bit of a while. You'd think they'd be able to stand on their own 2 feet. Versus, the much lower subsidies that, say, green energy gets. And the International Monetary Fund came up with a number. It was $11 million a minute that's being spent on subsidizing fossil fuels.
Right.
And when you put it over a year, it's trillions. We started a count up counter in Glasgow at the beginning of the climate conference there, and it's still running. And as you can probably see now, it's running now at 584 billion US dollars that's being spent on fossil fuel subsidies since the beginning of the Glasgow conference. This money could be spent better on more sustainable things, could it not? Is this, I don't know how the Family Alliance that you're representing and the impact that you're representing deals with a topic like that, but it would be good if it was on their radar, I think.
Absolutely. It certainly is on our radar, and it's something that we're all responsible. We mentioned the pension funds and institutional investors. It's not some family's money hidden away in ivory tower. It's all of our money that is actually causing this. And it's our politicians that are choosing to subsidize these things. So it's a responsibility of everyone, and expecting some people to solve it for us, I don't think it's going to be the way forward. I had no idea that the number was so big.
It's shocking, isn't it?
It's absolutely shocking. But I think we all should make a stance immediately, and not to accept, let's say, the storylines given to us by our bankers and advisors and asset managers, or ESG ratings. I think we should be extremely critical on how to go about this going forward, and make a stance that this is enough and we need to change it. And the responsibility lies within all of us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for being here. I hope you enjoy yourself at NOAA and you get out of it what you want. And then, it sounds a very interesting story that you're talking about here. And thanks for your time.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Good.
Thanks.